words exactly, but I know what you mean. And I mean, even Joe Rogan gets called out quite a bit. Like they'll be like, "Hang on, but you said like," but they'll refer to something he said 2 years ago. Like shit changes, right? It's like, but when you done that podcast 2 years ago, you said this, and now you're agreeing to that, and it's like. Being agreeable I think being agreeable isn't a bad thing if it can be reasonably explained to you. Yeah, I don't see what the harm in like having your being persuaded to think a different way or have differing opinions. How that is actually an issue. I think it goes to it's a good example of showing human growth.
Yeah.
As long as it's for the right reasons, though. But
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I don't know.
And that's the flip side to it, is acknowledging that growth.
Yeah. He's going to take...
And allowing people to grow as well. I feel like that's the thing we lose a lot of the time, is we forget to remember that we were once young, or that we once said stupid things, and then we grew up from it. I think that's a thing that we tend to skip over now. It's very easy to pretend to be perfect online.
Fucking hell.
So easy, because...
I say dumb shit all the time, and I'm ready to face. Like I could totally I'm like, cool. I can admit it.
Yeah.
Sorry about it, guys. Don't know if it won't happen again, but I'm aware if it happens.
That's the reality of it, because I have not always thought the way that I think now.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm not even entirely sure if the me now would be friends with the me from 10 years ago. I'm not sure if I'd be friends with that guy.
But you're a lovable chap, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends who loves you. The wrong people can love you.
Yeah.
And you can find community in the wrong spaces too. That's why it's just really important to me to always keep myself in check.
Have you stuck with the same? Are we recording this, Tyler? Sorry. Poor bugger.
I have a red light on this camera.
You have a red light?
I don't know if that means record. And I have a red light on that camera.
Okay, we are recording.
You reckon? Does that what that mean?
I hope so. Because I think we're about to get to some good shit here. Do you have the same group of friends? Or, I mean, of course our group of friends, as we've found out through our adult years, that kind of dies down a little bit, or we just tend to not talk to people as much as we used to. Has your group of friends changed much over the years?
What's changed in my community and my group of friends is, as bold as this might be to say, I think you stick with the ones that grow with you. And the people who I'm not friends with anymore, maybe this is me being full of myself, but I look at them and I'm like, oh, you guys are still back there when we were 23.
Yeah.
And that's usually because either they didn't want to grow up, or because they just decided to ignore the world around them enough that they didn't feel the need to. And I can't ignore the world. I think my biggest stress is that I'm more aware than I want to be. I think we're all too aware of the world.
I don't know. If you're on social media, I don't know how you cannot be aware of the world.
And sometimes it's too much. Aware, and I hate to brag, going over like, in my grandparents' day, they were aware of the world at 6 when the news was on, and 10 a.m. when the news was on the weekend. And then after that morning news report, they had to wait until 10 o'clock on the Sunday. And then on the weekdays, it was 6 o'clock. That's when it came out. Or I got the morning Dominion Post.
Yeah.
That's when I was aware of the world, and I was aware of a very small portion of it. And now we have access by the thumb swipe of so much horrible crap that it often doesn't affect us. Yeah. And almost every time we can't affect ourselves or change. Yeah. And that's detrimental to us. But in terms of like how my community or my friend group has changed, it's largely been that awareness. I'm really happy to say I've kept a lot of friends from when I was really young, and we all managed to grow together. And I think as we were growing up, we recognized in each other that want to grow. Yeah. And we've stuck with each other the whole way. But there are definitely people that I feel like, for lack of a better way of saying it, I feel like I've left behind because they didn't grow up. Yeah. And in 10 years' time, I'm probably going to look back at me saying this now and be like, that guy was not as grown up as he thought he was. Because when I was 21, I thought I knew everything. Fuck yeah. I thought I was down with every community. I knew what was going on. I had the world figured out. people who are, people who are down and out because of these things, it's their fault because they didn't do these things, and now I've seen the structures behind what causes people to be in these spaces, and I have more sympathy for them and understanding for their situations. That's growth.
Yeah.
But if someone were to, social media wasn't that big back then. If someone were to get a recording or a post of something that I said 10 years ago and pulled it up now, God, that wouldn't be a picture of a good person.
Yeah.
Because that was a kid. That was a guy who didn't know very much.
Yeah.
Didn't know about the world.
Yeah.
And I probably still don't know much about the world by comparison, but
yeah.
I've grown. And we need to allow people that space to grow and acknowledge that growth. But yeah, that doesn't always happen.
Hard out.
So yeah, my friend group's definitely changed, but definitely for the better.
Yeah. Totally. I don't know if I'm making new friends as well. It's hard to say. I think I'm making new, like I find myself hanging out with different people, but it seems to be more of a working network rather than like, hey dude, let's go and like nowadays I just don't have time to catch up and go to a movie and have a spliff before a film or something like I just don't have that time anymore. Like my time is too precious. Like if it's not contributing to the betterment of my life or the people around me, I'm just not interested. And I'm finding myself nowadays that I'm surrounding myself with people that are contributing to that. So a lot of my time nowadays is based on work or something that's work related or something that can, just kind of, what do you call it, just not nutting out, but
like motivate you.
Yeah, or like, it's all like ideas and that, I'm around people that have ideas and want to go in these certain directions, and I can align with that and go, yo, that's where I want to be too, or, and it's mostly people in film.
A really good thing that my teacher said in intermediate constantly, which I hear his voice still, would constantly ask me if my environment was conducive to positive learning. I found that as long as I keep asking myself that question and checking myself, that is what kind of stimulates my decisions in terms of changing my environment or keeping them. Is my current environment conducive to positive learning? Not is it conducive to work, not is it conducive to personal life or family learning. So just constantly in their pursuit of learning in a positive way. And that's largely how I've measured my communities and my groups.
Yeah.
It's still really important to me that I have mess around time. It's probably more important to me now. The messing around has changed. I'm not getting drunk and getting pissed on the weekend anymore, but I'm still trying to put as much effort into spending time with my friends as I have been through my 20s, putting time into my career. I just kind of realized that I should work as diligently, or have as much focus as I have on work as I do on my just life, because the last thing I want to do is become just a working machine, just a capitalist thing. You just wake up for the sole purpose of serving the machine, and that scares me the more. I already look back at my 20s and think I did too much working. I worked because I needed the money and I wanted to spend time with friends, but I just put too much emphasis on it. And I took a job in my 20s which was a really high paying job, and to me it was the smart thing to do. I was like, I'm an adult, I should take this and put aside some of the fun stuff and do this hard-working job. And I did it for 2 years, and at the end of it I just fucking hated myself. I hated it, and I was negative, and my friends pointed it out. I was negative about the world, and I was pessimistic, and I heard my teacher, is this conducive to a positive learning environment? And I wasn't. And then the pandemic hit, I got made redundant, and that phone call was like the happiest phone call I've ever had.
You've been made redundant.
I was they were trying to break it to me softly. They were like, hey, look, we've had to restructure the company. And I was like, just say it. Just say the words, man. Tell me I'm fired. Just tell me I'm fired. And they were like, no, we can't work with you anymore. And I was like, thank God. I couldn't wait to hang up that phone and be unemployed. And then a half hour later, I got a call from my agent saying that they want you up on Shortland Street and they want you up there in 3 days. So I was unemployed from this job that I absolutely hated for half an hour, and then I was suddenly employed again at a job that I was stoked with and I've wanted to take part in a while. But I was stoked
Yeah.
to be unemployed.
It's a beautiful thing when you're like excited about it, right? Because there's like like especially nowadays, we all know a recession's coming, or it's already here. Let's face it, some of us are feeling it in our own ways. Whether it's in the fuel pump or fucking, groceries, rents, or whatever. A lot of people are feeling more anxious nowadays about and it's just refreshing to hear when someone is like, I got fired, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, instead of people going, oh, like, am I going to be fired? Oh man, it's my oh man, and we definitely live in a system that is teaching us that, we need this job. And
The sound of people working.
yeah. Who's working?
Part of the machine.
Yeah, the machine is working. The Matrix is going.
Corporate shells.
The corporate shells. Yeah, and I've probably lost what I was going to say now. But we are heading into anxious times. I feel like I'm boldly just saying that, but I don't know. I felt
That's
it
it.
from.
We know too much.
Yeah, we just know too
all
much
the time.
But we know just how bullshit it is too. But it's like we're in such a lot of us, I shouldn't say all of us, a lot of us are in a powerless position because, especially with our upbringing, bruv, like, I think me and you, having the upbringings we had, growing up in the hood, you're Porirua, I'm Gizzy Town, we're like, we broke the mold when you think about our upbringings, right? I mean, you're Afakasi, I'm a Māori boy. You grew up in, pretty. Would you say that you grew up in a pretty low decile?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, Waitangaroa State House.
Oh, okay,
And then moved out to Tite Bay when I was like 5 or 6, but still like single parent household, mostly run and looked after by my grandfather, who was retired, living off his super as an old man, while my mum worked late nights, early mornings to support 3 kids and her father.
Yeah.
That's
So,
it.
I'm not too sure where I was getting with that. I think I was just going on a big, long, old man spiel. I think I'm showing early signs of dementia. But I guess what I'm saying is, what I'm going to get at, is we're now here, we're in this room, we are talking to each other, and we've come out of a situation where a lot of the people that we grew up with around us, not saying all of them, but a lot of people that grew up around us, fell to the certain negatives of society. So whether they got into gangs or they got into crime or drugs, or drug abuse or alcohol abuse, we could have easily have gone down that path, right?
Yeah. I mean, like 100%.
What do you think it is that we didn't? Why? I want you to answer this question for me, maybe. Why do you think we didn't fall into that trap, knowing that we grew up in these hard places, in these hard times, in these hard situations?
A lot of it is, for me, I had a realization at a certain point that there were people who had more faith in me than me. And I was like, if I can just try to have as much faith in me as people that don't even know me, I'd like to see what that's like. There were strangers that were kind enough to say things that I needed. And then I realized, well, how about we give this a go? I had an opportunity to, there was a criminal situation that I was considering, because I was just so angry at the world. There were kids in my school that were just left high school and decided to travel Europe straight away because they had the money to do that and their parents had trust funds set up for them and had already saved for their university. There were people that had that and were just totally, to me, taking it for granted, and I was so angry that I wasn't getting that as well. And so a friend of mine, we sat in his car one night and we talked about all the crimes that we could do. Harmless crimes that wouldn't hurt anyone, illegal ways of making money. How can we make, because we were like, that's the only way to get ahead in the system. And so I've been in that car and I've sat with my friend and I've talked about those things. And so when it comes to like gang culture or like drugs and alcohol, like drugs and alcohol, forms of escapism from an environment that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
There are pre-existing things. These are not bad people
No.
that get into these things. People that get into gangs, it's just people looking for a sense of family.
Family. Yeah.
And power in a life where they feel like they otherwise don't have that.
Mm.
And so for me, the only reason that in that car I didn't make the decision to go down that road of doing those things is because I thought, well, how about I just try for a while first. I'll try have as much faith in me as some of these other people have in me. And I don't want to say that I worked my ass off, because a lot of it was luck,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of it was help from friends. But that was it. It was literally just a conversation with it. That's the only reason I didn't go down that other route of, like, you know, trying to make money and
What were you thinking of doing?
Oh man, I don't want to say so much on camera. Things that wouldn't hurt people.
Yeah.
You know, like looking at, you know, we mostly had like I remember at the time we just had like a grudge against rich people. And so we were trying to think of ways that we could make money off of them.
Okay.
Can just skim money off the top. That was a Robin Hood situation is kind of what we thought you know, two 18-year-olds sitting in my friend's car.
Yeah.
But then we were like, well, what if we just try and believe in ourselves the same way we believe in each other? And so it was just me and my friends pulled ourselves out of that, not on purpose. And I think it's one thing that pisses me off about the characterization of gangs and like people with addiction and stuff like that, is that they're doing bad things because they're bad people. I mean, it's the environment that we've created for these people that drives people to that.
Yeah.
Because I was in that environment. I was an angry young person, and I sat in that car and I thought about ways that I could get back at the system. But I decided not to do that. I just decided just to grind it out and believe in myself. But some people don't have those strangers.
No.
Some people don't have those people to say those kind words. Some people are not as fortunate as I was to have those voices in their head tell them that they can do shit, that they can get out of it.
Yeah.
In fact, some people instead have people in their lives that tell them that they can't.
Yeah.
And that can either be a motivator for you or it can bring you down.
Shit,
And a lot of people are in that situation.
It's such a two-edged sword. Yeah, it's I was the same dude. Like, you know, I grew up around a lot of people that turned out to be, you know, get into the gangs and, you know, make some really shit decisions in their life. And I know they're good people deep down. I mean, some of them turn to that life and I never understood what the conditions in their life were to lead them to that decision. Like, I thought, you know, and maybe I lack a bit of empathy there, but I'm like, I don't get it. You had a mum and a dad, both working. They used to take you to rugby or whatever, you know, to your extracurricular activities outside of school. You've done really well at school. Like, what did you feel like you were missing out on?
It's a helplessness somewhere. Gangs offer a sense of community, and they look for and they sniff out people that don't have that. The easiest ones to prey on. I forget his name now, but there was this American guy who was like a KKK leader, and he said at the time he was in such a bad place that he would have joined a soccer team if a sports team had approached him first, but the skinheads approached him first.
Yeah.
And that's how they got him in. And so we have these members of our community that are feeling down and out, that are feeling helplessness, and they're getting into gangs a lot of the time because the only people who are giving them something to live for, giving them something, are these gangs. And they're being manipulated in that way. And so I think sure, some of these people have done bad things, and you can say some people, I don't think anyone's inherently bad. You know, we're all products of our environment, and we're also in charge of the environment.
Yeah.
So we have to take some responsibility for that as a community. And I think this constant barrage of just characterizing gang culture as if they're just bad people doing bad things. You know, people like National saying, we just need to get harsher with punishment.
Hard on crime.
When has that ever happened?
Like,
Are people committing crimes because they feel like the punishment isn't hard enough?
Yeah.
No, they're committing crimes because they think they have to.
Yeah.
They probably don't, but they think they do.
Yeah.
You know, and so harsher crimes. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. It costs $151,000 per prisoner per year.
Yeah.
That amount of money, you could spend less than that on outworld experience and rehabilitation. It costs more to put a person in jail than it does to rehabilitate. It costs more, so it's not a fix. Harsher punishments. They don't care. They're going to go to prison and spend time with their mates. They're going to learn about other crimes they could commit.
Yeah.
They're going to make friends to have outside.
Hard out.
I get in some instances, prison exists for a reason. I totally get it, but it's the characterization of another group of lower socioeconomical people that I don't agree with. I would say, and this is bold, but I would say New Zealanders have suffered far more at the hands of men in suits than they have at the hands of men wearing patches.
Yeah. Oh shit. This is the world.
I would say the worst gang are those men in those suits. Are men on Wall Street. The worst gang are people that are looking out for money.
But they're not seeing that it's odd
selling
one,
off
isn't it?
state houses,
Oh,
creating
of
those
course,
conditions. That's the worst gang. They're the ones that make money off of.
Here's a question for you, Brian. You wake up tomorrow and you are a multi-millionaire. Why are you a multi-millionaire? What have you done to become a multi-millionaire? I'm just going to turn the dial on you.
If I'm ever a millionaire, it'll be by luck. It'll be by chance or a lotto ticket. I don't have any desire to be that rich. Perhaps in assets, but I think if I get to a point where I'm a multi-millionaire, it means to me that at some point I've stopped helping people. You don't need millions to live. So if you've got millions, it's money you're not spending in places where you could. I could help people before I get to a millionaire.
Yeah.
Before I get to a million, that's already enough money to put back in communities. It's already enough money to help people.
Kind of. It's not hard to have $1 million. I mean, a house is $1 million.
Well, yeah, okay. $1 million once I'm in a house, but a multi-millionaire, I think if I'm a multi-millionaire, then I've forgotten where I came from. I don't want that.
Yeah. I get very tossed up about it because I feel like I would love to live a financially free life. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to be a multi-millionaire. But it would be nice to not worry about money.
Oh, bro. Yeah,
it would be nice to have financial freedom. And like you said, I feel like for me it would be through assets. It would be through investing back in the whānau land, back up the East Coast or in Awaho, just outside of Rotorua. And it would be, if there was that amount of money in my bank account, I would like to think that it's there because it's going to go back to the whānau, or everyone's trusted me with the money. Which I'm like,
in which case you're the investment, but it would be in investments or assets. It wouldn't be. I don't want a bank filled with zeros.
Well, you get to a certain amount of zeros, right? And there's a particular group of people that start, hollering at you and going, "Hey, so you're pretty up there now. We would like you to do this, that, and if you don't agree, they will run you through the mill." And especially if you're brown.
It's not my crowd.
No, definitely not my crowd. But it's an interesting question that I've asked a few people now. You wake up as a millionaire tomorrow, multi-millionaire. Why? So I'd like to think it's through assets and not through just stocks and living off debt through my businesses. All that.
It'd be luck. I'm not chasing millions. So if I wake up tomorrow and it's there, it's a stroke of luck. The universe decided that I needed to do something with this amount of money. I would put that totally up to the universe or God, whatever you want to call it.
I agree. It's definitely good. Give it back to the community somehow, safely as well, I should say. Can't just.
That can also be through your art as well.
$1
Drop it on films and your art. That's your.
I've always said that if I won the lotto, I'd make this film that I've been wanting to make for years. I'm like, oh, what would you do? And everyone's like, oh, get a house and that. I'm like, I want to fund my movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my goodness.
Same.
Yeah, hard out. what got you into the performing arts scene? Were you much into it in high school? Like, were you a drama student? Were you into dance or music or art?
In short, I hated myself.
Yeah.
I just like, oh man, I couldn't wait to go to drama class so that I could spend an hour not being me. And that wasn't really a situational thing. I think I was just a depressed teenager dealing with, I just didn't want to be me anymore.
Yeah.
There were lots that I wanted and it all looked unachievable and I didn't have it already and I'm an impatient teen and I want it all now.
Yeah.
And I just thought, it felt really good to channel it somewhere. Like my teacher would give me a monologue and I would just spend the weekend going over it and then I would go into class, walk up on stage, zone out, perform my exam, sit back down. And as long as I was on that stage, I wasn't thinking about anything else.
Did you have the knack for it in high school too? Like, did everyone look at you at high school and go, fuck, you got something?
Yeah, and that was super annoying.
Yeah.
It was really hard because you'd also at the end of an exam you'd have someone would hand out your markings every now and then, and I remember a few times the teacher would hand it. If you got a bad mark, do you remember you got a bad mark? You remember you used to get it. I changed it better. If you got a bad mark in high school, if you remember, your teacher would hand it to you with their thumb in the middle, folded over, facing down, and she always handed my mark facing up. And I think she did it because she thought she was doing a good thing, but it was actually not a good thing. Everyone could see that I got an excellence on every single performing arts thing. And that, I don't know, put pressure on me or just made me nervous or shy, or I didn't enjoy that kind of thing.
Did you feel like because you were outstanding, or that you tall poppy, right?
Yeah.
Going back to that whole tall poppy. Because drama, I fucking hated drama at school. But I done drama for the same reason you did, for escapism, because I hated myself. I was like a fat, ugly kid. Like, no chicks ever asked me out, all that kind of shit, right? But it was the only subject I ever got excellence in. Yeah. Even though I hated it, even though I felt like I was like, I'm not going to be an actor when I grow up. I don't even want to do this shit. Why am I here? Excellence. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Here's the thing that I think surprises people. People think I would then also be good at speeches.
No.
I did. And two.
Two.
We'll wrap this up. I think the thing that'll surprise people is that I sucked at speeches. So I sailed through drama by me just channeling my hate for myself.
Yeah.
But then when it came to speeches, and you got to be yourself up there, failed. Got up there, hands trembling, couldn't talk, shaking, couldn't drop my cue cards, gave up, put on a character, and then sat back down. Failed miserably every single speech that I ever did because I had to be me.
Same. Fuck, I feel like we definitely walked the same parallels in that scenario right there, because I was shit at speeches too, bro. I'm not even joking. Even now, like even just with this, I feel like I could be asking you questions a lot better, but it just won't come out, you know. And I'm like, and yeah, that's really hit me a bit, because I've never really met someone that shared that parallel with me, or like that, with me before. Fuck, that just really trips me out.
It's changed in later years. I don't perform so much because I hate myself. I found through just life experience, I found an emotional resilience towards myself, and I've learned more than I've learned the importance of caring about myself. I've learned about the danger of not.
Yeah, shit, yeah. Absolutely.
And I've lost mates, and usually to themselves.
Yeah,
and it's not that I want to stay away from that, is that I don't want to put my family and my friends through that loss. And so I've learned to, it's hard to say, I've learned to, I guess love myself. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
I can't even say it.
Bro.
But there's a care for myself now that I'm allowing myself to have some love.
Yeah.
No.
I think so too. I think self-love's a really bold statement, and no one's ever too certain if they do love themselves. But I also feel like no one's ever too certain if they really hate themselves. Yeah. Even if they do the worst to themselves, it's like, do I actually really hate myself? Or is there a reason why I'm doing this?
Yeah. Or is it just easier to say
easier
myself?
And hate myself. So, I mean, and sometimes people go, I've heard people go, you love yourself way too much. I'm like, that's a good thing, isn't it? Like, no.
Brother, especially in New Zealand, man, we could afford to love ourselves more. I did an acting workshop that was literally called How to Be More American in Your Auditions. So we like looking at Americans and how they hold themselves when they walk into a room. This is not something that we're used to doing. No. We're very sorry to barge in. I know you asked me to be here for the audition, but I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we don't really kick the door in and.
Yeah, and we need a little bit more of that. We need to be more American.
Well, we probably need to win more world wars, right?
Yeah.
And then we can get all the cockiness and all the technology and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's and I mean it's cool, man. I hope that one day we get to actually work on a film together. I mean, I know that we're doing.
I think it's inevitable.
I think the stars are going to align, bro. I don't know where, what, how, or why. And I don't know, maybe there's a casting director.
I tell you what, I'm happy that we haven't.
I am too.
Because it wouldn't have
fuck
been...
you.
No, because it wouldn't... When we met, you were a construction worker and I was a rock climbing instructor. Yeah. And we were sitting outside on Wellington Wharf, both generally talking to each other on our joint lunch break. We would have missed each other had you not been on break at the same time. Yeah. And we were both just as young guys sitting on the wharf talking about generally working in the acting world. Yeah. I mentioned that I was doing theatre. You said you were interested in acting. Yeah. You asked me something about it, like where should I get started? I think I recommended like a Facebook group or something. Yeah. We talked about how we've both been looking in that world. Yeah. And then we parted ways, and then I started seeing you pop up in the Facebook groups more and more. And then we became friends on Facebook, and I was like, that's the motherfucking guy from the wharf, and we just kind of built up from there.
I think you've done a couple. Maybe just the one project with Ubi, which is I think when I reconnected with you with Ryan Norman. Shout out to Ryan out there. Hope you and your family's well, bruv. But I've seen you go from strength to strength over the years, and then I think actually no, we did kind of work together very loosely on Pork Pie. I think you were James Rolliston's hand model.
Yeah.
Hand double?
Well, James couldn't drive at the time, so I could drive. We gotta go. And the stunt double.
You are a bastard, eh? Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. So we can close it off properly. Fuck's sakes.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was James Rolliston's driving double, hand double on a gig. So we both worked on something, but no, we didn't work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is our first time working together after 10 years of, 10 years after meeting each other on the wharf.
Yeah.
Just a construction worker and a rock climbing instructor.
Yeah. Fuck, that was a tough job too. That was a horrible job. And we had to cut out your floor and stuff. And I remember your boss being like, how long is the floor going to be open for? Because it's just like a drop into water. Yeah,
but I had no floor. And
no floor. Where am I going to teach
my rock climbers were getting splashed at night on our night sessions. The ocean was coming up through the floor and wetting my climbers.
We almost lost a few guys. A couple of guys almost drowned to death doing that job. Jeez.
We'll wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up, but
really nice talking
Jordan, it's been really nice chatting to you. I know that we're staying at the same accommodation. We're still going to be hanging out. I'd like to think that next time you're in Auckland, bro, we will actually do another one. There's a few that I owe to do another podcast, so yeah. Anyway, cheers, guys. Thank you for tuning in and stay awesome. Thank you very much for joining me in this beautiful moment on the FTG podcast. Cheers, brother.
Peace out.
My man.